A cup of coffee, a $5 tip, a life-altering debt. For Maya Collins, waitressing at a Brooklyn diner wasn't a career. It was a purgatory of ketchup bottles and sore feet. The quiet man in the corner booth, Mr. Gino, was just another face, a moment of calm in her chaotic day. But in the time it takes for a bullet to cross a room, that quiet man became her responsibility. She threw herself in front of him, an instinct she couldn't explain. She didn't know his real name was Donato Genovese. She didn't know he was the head of the most powerful crime family in New York. And she didn't know that by saving his life, she had just ended her own. The smell of stale coffee and industrial bleach was the perfume of Maya Collins' life. At 24, she'd been waitressing at the corner bistro in Brooklyn for 3 years, a temporary stop that had solidified into a concrete reality. Her dreams of being a painter had faded. The canvases in her tiny, fourth-floor walk-up apartment gathering dust, their white surfaces a reproach. Life was now measured in 12-hour shifts, in the ache in her arches, and in the mental tally of tips required to cover rent. The bistro was a relic, a greasy spoon immune to the gentrification swallowing the neighborhood. Its vinyl booths were cracked, the formica tables permanently sticky. Maya knew every regular, every order, every sad story whispered over a lukewarm cup of joe, and she knew Mr. Gino. He wasn't like the others. He came in every Tuesday and Thursday, precisely at 2:00 p.m., after the lunch rush and before the dinner prep. He always took the last booth, the one with the best view of the door and the worst lighting. He was older, perhaps in his late 50s, with a face that looked carved from hard-won experience. His suits were simple, dark, but Maya, who noticed brush strokes and color palettes, recognized the whisper of expensive wool. He never made a mess. He always ordered the same thing: black coffee, 1 sugar, and a toasted corn muffin. He never talked much. He read Il Progresso Italo-Americano, a newspaper that seemed as much a relic as the diner itself. He'd nod when she filled his cup, a brief, respectful dip of his head. He seemed lonely. There was a profound sadness in his eyes that Maya recognized, a mirror of the quiet disappointment she felt in her own life. She liked him. He was her one customer who demanded nothing of her but presence, and he always left a crisp $10 bill for a $4 tab. That Tuesday started like any other. The air was heavy with the promise of a humid summer storm. The lunch rush had been brutal, a tourist bus descending like locusts. Maya's apron was stained with ketchup, and her ponytail had long since surrendered to the damp. At 2:00 p.m., the bell over the door chimed. Mr. Gino entered. He shook the light rain from his black umbrella, slid it into the brass stand by the door, and moved to his booth. Maya grabbed a fresh pot of coffee and a mug. "Afternoon, Mr. Gino," she said, her voice hoarse. "The usual?" He looked up from folding his newspaper, and for the first time he smiled. It was a small, tired gesture, but it lit his face. "Please, Maya." And the muffin. "But today, maybe add a side of bacon." "Well done." She raised an eyebrow, feeling adventurous. "Something like that," he murmured, his eyes drifting to the street outside. He seemed agitated, his usual stillness replaced by a low thrum of energy. He tapped his fingers on the table, a rhythm she'd never seen. "Everything okay?" she asked, lingering. He snapped his gaze back to her. The intensity was startling. "Yes, fine. Thank you, child." Maya retreated to the kitchen window, put in the order, and watched him. He wasn't reading his paper. He was watching the door. A knot tightened in her stomach. It was the same feeling she got before a canvas went wrong, a sense of misplaced color. The bell chimed again. 2 men walked in. They did not belong. The bistro's clientele was working class, students, and the elderly. These men were different. They wore sharp, shark grey suits, too heavy for the weather. Their shoes were polished to a mirror shine. They weren't looking at the menu board. They were scanning the room. One was broad, with a shaved head and a neck as thick as a utility pole. The other was younger, thinner, with restless dark eyes. They spotted Mr. Gino. The thin one's lips curled into a smirk. Maya, wiping down the counter, felt the air charge, the humidity turning to static. The men didn't take a table. They began to walk, purposefully, toward the back booth. Mr. Gino saw them. His hand, which had been tapping, slowly slid from the tabletop to his lap. He didn't look scared. He looked resigned, angry. "Mr. Gino," the thin man said, his voice a low sneer that carried across the near-empty diner. "We were told we might find you here. Bruno sends his regards. He should have come himself," Mr. Gino said, his voice no longer the quiet customer's, but a low, gravelly rumble of authority. "He's busy," the thick-necked man grunted, "making arrangements for your funeral." It happened in a fraction of a second. Maya saw the glint of metal. The thin man was pulling a pistol with a long, ugly silencer from the waistband of his jacket. Mr. Gino was already moving, reaching inside his own coat. But he was slower. The man was too close. Maya didn't think. She didn't analyze. She didn't weigh the consequences. She saw the thin man's arm extend, his wrist locking to take the shot. She saw Mr. Gino, a quiet, sad customer, about to be executed over a corn muffin. She moved. She grabbed the heavy glass pot of scalding coffee from the burner. "No!" she screamed, a sound that felt ripped from her throat. She threw herself forward, bodily, between the men. She shoved Mr. Gino hard, trying to push him down into the booth, and simultaneously swung the coffee pot in a wide, desperate arc. The sound of the gun was a dull thwack, almost polite. It was drowned out by the thick-necked man's roar as a quart of 200-degree coffee hit him square in the face. He staggered back, screaming, clawing at his blistering skin. The thin man cursed, momentarily distracted. Maya felt a white-hot poker slam into her left side, just below her ribs. It stole her breath. It didn't hurt, not at first. It was just impact, a stunning, absolute pressure. She looked down. A dark, crimson flower was blooming on the front of her white apron. "Oh," she whispered. She saw the thin man raise his gun again, his eyes cold and furious, aiming at her. But Mr. Gino was no longer the sad, old man. His hand was out of his jacket, and it held a heavy, dark pistol of his own. 3 sounds, loud this time, bang, 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 echoed in the small space, shattering the pie display glass. The thin man's chest exploded in red. He crumpled to the linoleum. The thick-necked man, blind and screaming, was already fumbling for his own weapon. Mr. Gino stepped out of the booth, stood over him, and fired twice more. Silence. The diner smelled of cordite, coffee grounds, and copper. Maya's knees gave out. She slumped against the booth, her hand pressed to the wound. It was wet. So wet. Mr. Gino, Donato Genovese, was at her side in an instant. His face was a mask of shock and disbelief. He ripped off his suit jacket, pressing the expensive fabric into her side. "Stay with me," he commanded, his voice shaking. He was applying pressure, his hands stained with her blood, pressing hard. "Why did you do that? Perché? You stupid, brave girl. Why?" The coffee was fresh, she mumbled, her vision starting to swim at the edges. The pain was arriving now, a vast, consuming ocean of fire. "Leo!" he bellowed, though no one else was there. He was pulling his phone from his pocket. You tip well," Maya whispered, a faint, ridiculous laugh dying in her throat. "My name," he said, his voice urgent, his thumb dialing a number. "My name is Donato." He put the phone to his ear. "Leo, I'm compromised. The bistro. 2 of Bruno's men are down. And the girl, the waitress, she's hit. She's hit bad. Get the surgeon. Get Dr. Arden." "Not the hospital, you understand? The clinic. I'm bringing her in now. And Leo, bring everyone." He hung up, scooped Maya into his arms, as if she weighed nothing. He kicked the diner door open, into the rain, leaving the dead men and the shattered glass behind. Maya Collins' last conscious thought was that her shift wasn't over. She was going to be fired. Then the grey, rainy Brooklyn sky dissolved into black. The first sensation was not pain, but softness. Impossible softness. Maya was floating on a cloud. The scent in the air wasn't bleach or old grease. It was lavender and antiseptic. She forced her eyelids open. They felt heavy, glued shut. The light was soft, indirect, coming from sconces on a pale yellow wall. She wasn't in her apartment. She wasn't at St. Mary's General. She was in a room so luxurious it looked like a hotel suite. Cream-coloured furniture, a thick Persian rug, and a vase on the bedside table overflowing with white orchids. She tried to sit up, and a bolt of agony shot from her side, radiating through her entire body. She cried out, a dry, cracked sound. A man in a crisp white coat was beside her instantly, gently pressing her back down. "Easy, Miss Collins. You're safe. You've had extensive surgery." His face was kind, middle-aged, with wire-rimmed glasses. He wore a name badge. Dr. Philip Arden, St. Jude's Private Surgical Center. Maya had never heard of it. "Where?" she rasped. "St. Jude's. It's a private clinic," he said, adjusting the IV drip in her arm. "You were shot. The bullet passed through your spleen and nicked your diaphragm. You're very, very lucky. It was a clean entry and exit, but you lost a great deal of blood." "Mr. Gino," she whispered, the memories flooding back. The coffee, the gun, the blood on her apron. "Is he the man who brought you in?" "He's fine," Dr. Arden said, his expression carefully neutral. "He personally arranged for your care. He sat in the waiting room for all 9 hours of the surgery." 9 hours? Maya tried to process this. She looked at her side. Beneath the pristine white sheet, she was heavily bandaged. "He saved my life," she murmured. Dr. Arden paused, his fingers on her wrist, checking her pulse. "No, Miss Collins. By all accounts, you saved his. He wanted to be the first to see you when you woke up, but he was called away on urgent business. He left strict instructions for your care. My care. You are not to worry about anything. The bill, your recovery, it's all being handled. Now get some rest. The anesthetic is still wearing off." He smiled, injected something into her IV line, and the edges of her vision softened again. As she drifted off, one thought snagged in her mind. Who was Mr. Gino? When she woke the second time, the room was darker. The orchids seemed to glow in the moonlight from a large window, and there was a man sitting in the visitor's chair. It wasn't Mr. Gino. This man was younger, in his 30s, with sharp features and watchful, intelligent eyes. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit, no tie. He was just sitting, staring at her. Maya's heart leaped into her throat. She flinched. "Don't," he said. His voice was calm, a smooth baritone. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to protect you." Who are you?" "My name is Leo Gravano," he said, as if it should mean something. "I work for Mr. Genovese." "Genovese?" Maya's mind was foggy. I know Mr. Gino." "Mr. Gino," Leo said, a flicker of a smile playing on his lips, "is Donato Genovese. Gino was his father's name." Leo stood up, walking to the window. He was tall, graceful, moving with the coiled energy of a predator. He looked out at the city lights. "He feels a great debt to you, Ms. Collins." "Debt? I didn't want him to get hurt," Maya said, her voice small. "The diner, the other men. Are they?" "They are being handled," Leo said, a statement of absolute finality. "The police were told it was a gas main explosion. The city is very efficient when properly motivated. The corner bistro, I'm afraid, is gone." Gone? Her job, her paycheck. The thought felt distant, unreal. "He's very grateful," Leo continued, turning back to her, "which is why you are here. This is the finest private clinic in the state. Dr. Arden is the best trauma surgeon on the East Coast, and I am your personal security detail." "Security?" Maya tried to laugh, but it hitched in her chest. "Security from what? I'm a waitress." "You were a waitress," Leo corrected gently. "Now, you are the woman who took a bullet for Donato Genovese. That makes you visible. The men who shot you, they have friends. They have a boss. His name is Bruno Falcone. He is not a forgiving man. He will be displeased. Not only did his men fail to kill Mr. Genovese, but they were killed by him. And you saw it. A cold dread, heavier and sharper than the surgical pain, settled over Maya. I don't know anything. I won't say anything. I just want to go home." "You can't go home," Leo said, his voice hardening slightly. "Your apartment is being watched. We are moving you from here as soon as Dr. Arden clears you. You will be Mr. Genovese's guest." "Guest? Or prisoner?" Leo looked at her, his expression unreadable. "That," he said, "depends entirely on your perspective." The door opened. Donato Genovese stood in the doorway. He was not Mr. Gino. Mr. Gino wore a simple dark suit and looked sad. This man was flanked by two other large men who stayed in the hall. He wore an immaculate grey overcoat, and the sadness in his eyes was gone, replaced by an ironclad authority that filled the room. His hair was slicked back, and a heavy gold ring gleamed on his pinky finger. He looked at Maya, and his face softened, the old sadness returning, but mixed with something new. Awe. He dismissed Leo with a curt nod. Leo vanished from the room, pulling the door closed. "Miss Collins, Maya," Donato said. He walked to her bedside, pulling the chair close. He sat, leaning forward, his hands clasped. "Mr. Gino." "Donato," she said, her throat dry. "I came," he said, his voice a low rumble, "to apologize, and to thank you. You did something no one has ever done. Not for me. Not for anyone in my world. You put yourself between me and death. I just reacted." "Your reaction," he said, "was a miracle. But that miracle has put you in terrible danger. The world I live in, it's not like yours. It has rules. And one of the rules is that enemies are not forgiven. Another rule is that debts are always paid." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a checkbook. "I have paid for this hospital. I have settled your affairs, your lease, your utilities. I want to give you money, enough money so you never have to pour coffee again. A new apartment, a new car, a new life, anything you want." Maya stared at him. The power rolling off him was terrifying. This wasn't a sad, lonely customer. This was a king. "I don't want your money," she whispered, and the honesty of it surprised even her. I want my old life back. I want to go home. I want to be invisible again." Donato looked down at his hands. When he looked up, his eyes were filled with a terrible, profound pity. "I'm sorry, Maya," he said, his voice heavy. "But that is the one thing I can't give you. Your old life is over. The moment you saved mine, you ended yours." 3 days later, Maya was discharged from St. Jude's. She was not taken in a taxi. She was wheeled to a private underground garage where a black, armor-plated Mercedes sedan was waiting. Leo Gravano opened the door for her. The windows were tinted, so dark they looked like polished obsidian. Her home was not her fourth-floor walk-up in Brooklyn. It was a penthouse apartment overlooking Central Park. It was, Maya had to admit, the most beautiful place she had ever seen. The floors were white marble, the furniture was minimalist and exquisitely expensive, and the entire west-facing wall was a sheet of glass, revealing a god's-eye view of the city. It was also a prison. Leo lived in a guest suite near the entrance. A rotating team of 2 other men, polite but silent, were stationed in the private elevator lobby. She was never alone. "You have everything you need," Donato had told her when he'd shown her the apartment. He'd been there for 10 minutes before being called away again. "A full kitchen. Any food you desire will be delivered. This tablet," he'd pointed to a sleek device on the marble island, "is connected to the internet. You can order clothes, books, art supplies." Art supplies. The word had hung in the air between them. He'd done his research. He knew what she had given up. For the first week, Maya did nothing but heal. The pain in her side was a constant, dull throb. She slept. She watched the tiny yellow cabs move like beetles, 19 floors below. She ate the gourmet food that appeared in her kitchen, prepared by a private chef who came and went under Leo's supervision. And she felt the cage tightening. She had no phone. Her old one had been lost. The tablet was her only link. On the 8th day, her wound itching with the first signs of healing, she picked it up. She opened the browser. She typed the name, Donato Genovese. The screen flooded with results, headlines from the New York Post, the Times, even Forbes. The Last Don. Donato Genovese consolidates power. Genovese family, a legacy of silence and blood. Who is the Brooklyn gentleman inside the Genovese crime syndicate? War on Arthur Avenue. Genovese Falcone rivalry turns bloody. She read for hours. Her hands were shaking so badly she kept dropping the tablet. The articles detailed a criminal empire that stretched from the New York docks to waste management, to construction, to high-end gambling. They talked about extortion, racketeering, and a long, bloody feud with a rival organization, the Falcone family, headed by a man named Bruno Falcone. Mr. Gino, her sad, quiet customer, was a killer, a mob boss, an organized crime lord, and she had saved his life. She read about the Falcones. Bruno was new money, ruthless, and trying to expand. He had been targeting Genovese's operations for a year. The articles called the conflict the Quiet War, but it had left a trail of bodies. She found a grainy photo of Donato, taken with a long lens, stepping out of a courthouse. He looked exactly as he had in the hospital, powerful, cold, and untouchable. She felt sick. She ran to the cavernous marble bathroom and retched. The men he'd killed in the diner, they weren't just robbers. They were assassins, and she had stepped in the middle of a mafia war. When Donato visited that evening, Maya was waiting. She had left the tablet on the kitchen island, the screen lit up with his face. "You're a monster," she whispered as he entered. The words were quiet, but they cut through the sterile air of the apartment. Donato stopped. He looked at the tablet, then at her. He showed no surprise. He simply removed his overcoat and handed it to Leo, who dissolved back into the hallway. "You're a murderer," she said, her voice gaining strength. She was trembling, a mix of rage and terror. You kill people. Those men in the diner, they were there for you. And I got shot for you." Donato walked slowly to the kitchen island. He picked up a green apple from a bowl and polished it on his sleeve. "Yes," he said, his voice calm. "I am." And they were. "And you did," The lack of denial, the simple acceptance of the fact, stunned her into silence. "You lied to me," she finally managed. "You let me serve you coffee, week after week. You pretended to be normal." "I was not pretending," Donato said, turning to face her. He took a bite of the apple. The crunch was offensively loud. "The bistro, my father, Gino, took me there every Sunday after church. It was his favorite place. After he died, I went there to remember him. To be for 1 hour just Gino's son. Not this." He motioned around the opulent room. "That doesn't make it right. You've destroyed my life. I'm your pet. I'm a prisoner in this glass box." "You are protected," he corrected, his voice sharp, the authority returning. "What did you read on that device? Did you read about Bruno Falcone? Did you read what he does to people who get in his way? He doesn't just kill them, Maya. He makes them suffer. He makes their families suffer." He stepped closer. Maya recoiled, backing up until she hit the cold glass wall. "They saw your face," he said, his voice dropping. "They know the waitress from the bistro saved me. They know I pulled you out of there. To them, you are not an innocent civilian. You are my property. You are my shield. And because you are mine, he will try to take you. He will try to break you, just to hurt me." "So this is it?" she cried, tears of frustration streaming down her face. "This is my life? Waiting in a penthouse until someone comes to kill me?" Donato's expression softened. He reached out as if to touch her face, but stopped, his hand hovering in the air. "This," he said, "is your life. For now. Until Falcone is dealt with. I am doing this to keep you alive. I owe you that." "You don't owe me," she spat. "You owe me my old life, my apartment, my shitty job, my right to walk down the street without Leo. I cannot give you that," he roared, slamming his hand on the marble counter. The apple flew from his grasp. The sudden violence made Maya jump. He breathed deeply, composing himself. The mask of the Don slipped back into place. "You don't understand the rules, Maya. You live in a world of feelings and hopes. My world is made of stone and blood. It has only one rule: debts are paid. You saved my life. That is a debt that can never be repaid. It is a blood debt. It binds me to you. Whether you like it or not, your life is now more valuable to me than my own. I will not let them harm you. I will not let anyone harm you." He turned to leave. His shoulders were slumped, and he looked, once again, like the tired old man from the diner. "There are art supplies in the spare room," he said, his back to her. "Canvases, oils, the best I could find. Try to find some peace. I will handle the war." He left. Maya was alone, shivering, looking at the city that had once been her home and was now just a painting behind glass. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the cold marble floor. She was safe. She was rich. She was utterly, completely trapped. Across town, in a windowless office, above a social club on Mott Street, Bruno Falcone was not at peace. He was furious. "Two," he seethed, slamming a heavy glass tumbler of scotch onto his desk. "Two of my best men, taken out by that relic, and a waitress." His consigliere, a thin, older man named Nico Gallo, watched his boss patiently. Nico was a man of tactics, not temper. "Bruno, the report says the waitress interfered," Nico said calmly. "She threw coffee. She took the first bullet. She distracted them. That's how Genovese got his opening." "A waitress!" Bruno yelled, his face purple. He was a bull of a man, younger than Donato, with a thick neck and a taste for flashy suits. "This is what I'm talking about. Donato is old. He's weak. He goes to a diner, and he's saved by a waitress. This is an embarrassment. He should have been dead. Instead, Nico said, leaning forward, he is alive, and he has the girl. This caught Bruno's attention. He stopped pacing. The girl? The waitress? Our source at St. Jude's confirmed it. A Jane Doe, gunshot wound, brought in by Genovese himself. He paid Dr. Arden $500,000 in cash to keep it off the books. She survived the surgery. So she's a witness? Bruno mused. She's more than that, Nico corrected. Our men on the street say Donato has moved her. Put her in the air. The Oakhurst penthouse. The one he keeps for special guests. Bruno stared, his small dark eyes lighting up with a new, cruel understanding. He's protecting her. He's guarding her, Nico said. Leo Gravano is on her full time. She hasn't left the building. Bruno Falcone began to laugh. It was an ugly, grating sound. Oh, this is better. This is so much better than him being dead. Boss? Don't you see, Nico? The old man has gone soft. He's sentimental. This girl, she's not a witness. She's his weakness. She's the one thing in the world that isn't his. She's an innocent, and he's soiled her, just by bringing her into his world. What are you proposing, Bruno? The Oakhurst is a fortress. We can't get a man in. We don't need to, Bruno said, his smirk returning. We don't want to kill her. What's the point in that? No, we want to talk to her. We want to offer her an escape. He walked to a whiteboard on his wall, a map of Genovese's operations. He erased it all with a sweep of his hand. Find out who she is, he commanded. Not her name. I don't care about her name. Who does she know? Who does she love? Who is her family, her roommate, her best friend? Who is the one person in the world she trusts? It took Nico Gallo's team 48 hours. Maya Collins was a ghost. No family in New York. Few friends. She worked, she painted, she went home. But there was one. Sarah Jenkins, Nico reported, laying a grainy photo on Bruno's desk. Her old roommate from art school. They're still close. They meet for coffee every Sunday. Or they did. Jenkins has been calling Collins' phone, left a dozen worried messages. She filed a missing persons report, but it was discouraged by Donato's people. Sarah Jenkins. Bruno tasted the name. She's worried about her friend. She thinks her friend is missing. That's perfect. What's the play, boss? The play is simple. We don't approach Sarah with a threat. We don't approach her with money. We approach her with concern. Sarah Jenkins was terrified. Maya, her most reliable, boring, wonderful friend, had vanished. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Her apartment was empty. The police had been useless, taking her report with a bored expression and telling her Maya had probably just met a guy. Sarah knew better. She was sitting in her small studio apartment, crying when the knock came. It was two men. One was older, Nico Gallo, who looked like a kindly uncle. The other was Bruno Falcone, who looked like a shark in a $5,000 suit. Ms. Sarah Jenkins? Nico asked, his voice gentle. May we come in? We have information about your friend, Maya Collins. Sarah's fear was instantly replaced by a desperate hope. She let them in. Who are you? She asked, wringing her hands. Are you private investigators? Did you find her? We are. Associates of a man who is very concerned about Maya's well-being, Bruno said, his voice a sympathetic rumble. He sat on her worn-out sofa, as if it were a throne. Your friend is not missing, Ms. Jenkins, Nico said softly. She's a prisoner. Sarah's blood ran cold. What? A prisoner? Who? A very, very bad man, Bruno cut in. His name is Donato Genovese. He's a Well, you can guess what he is. Your friend was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She saw something she shouldn't have. And now he's holding her. He has her locked in a penthouse. She can't leave. She can't call. It all clicked for Sarah. The sudden disappearance, the disconnected phone, the police's lack of interest. Maya was in trouble. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered, sinking into a chair. "We have to call the police, the FBI." "You already tried," Bruno said, his voice dripping with false sympathy. "They can't touch him. He owns them." "But we can. My organization, we are in a dispute with Mr. Genovese. We want to hurt him. And we've learned that he's holding this innocent girl. It's offensive to us." "What do you want?" Sarah asked, her eyes narrowing. "We want to help her escape," Nico said. "But she's terrified. She doesn't trust anyone. Leo Gravano, his top lieutenant, is with her 24/7. But you, she trusts you." How can I even talk to her?" "We know she has a tablet, but they monitor it," Bruno said. "But you and she, you have your codes, yes? Your little art school secrets. A messaging app you used to use? Something his dinosaurs wouldn't know to check?" Sarah's mind raced. There was an old app. Palette. They used to use it to share sketches. It was defunct, but it still worked. She and Maya still had it on their devices, a relic of their old dreams. "Yes," Sarah said. "I think so." "Good," Bruno said, standing up. He smiled, a fatherly, reassuring smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Send her a message. Tell her you know where she is. Tell her you can get her out. Set a meeting. Somewhere public, but quiet. The old public library. The Astor reading room. Wednesday, 3 p.m. And you'll be there?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "You'll save her?" "We'll be there," Bruno promised, patting her on the shoulder. "You're a good friend, Sarah Jenkins. You're going to save Maya's life." As they walked out, Nico looked at his boss. "You think she'll do it?" Bruno chuckled. "She's a hero. She's desperate. She'll walk her friend right into our arms. And once we have the girl, Donato, he will kneel. He'll give us anything we want to get his new pet back in one piece." In the penthouse, Maya found a routine. She painted. Donato had provided the finest supplies, and she used them, pouring her rage and isolation onto the Belgian linen. She painted the city not as a glittering skyline, but as a fractured, lonely cage. Donato visited more frequently, often just watching her work. "It's angry," he said one evening, looking at a dark, fractured cityscape. "I wonder why," Maya retorted, not looking up. He ignored her sarcasm. My son. He used to paint before he got sick." Maya's brush stopped. She turned. This was new. "You have a son?" "Had," Donato said, his voice thick. "He died when he was 8. Leukemia. He liked to paint. Bright, happy things." "Nothing like this." He looked at her, his vulnerability a sudden, unwelcome crack in his armor. "He would have liked you. You have brave eyes." Maya felt a sharp pang of sympathy she didn't want. This monster was a grieving father. It was a complication that disgusted her. "Don't," she said softly. "Don't try to make me like you." "I am not trying," Donato said. "I'm just talking. It's been a long time since I've had anyone to talk to who isn't afraid of me." "I'm terrified of you," she said. "No," he said, shaking his head. "You are angry. You are trapped. But you are not afraid. If you were, you would have stayed behind the counter. You would never have thrown the coffee." He was right, and that terrified her more than anything. That night, alone in her sterile bedroom, she heard a faint ping. It wasn't the tablet. It was her old laptop, which Leo had cleaned and she'd ignored. She booted it up. A message from Palette, a defunct art-sharing app she and Sarah had used in school. From SJ Sketches. Maya. Oh my God, Maya, are you there? I know you're in trouble. I know he has you. I can help. I have people. They're good people. They want to get you away from him. Can you meet me? The old Astor reading room. The library. Wednesday. 3 p.m. Please, Maya, say yes. I'm so scared for you. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Sarah, her best friend, her only link to her old life. Sarah was trying to save her. A wave of guilt washed over her. Sarah was out there risking everything, while she was in here, painting, and empathizing with the monster. This wasn't a bond. It was Stockholm Syndrome. She had to get out. She looked at the door. Behind it, Leo was always watching. She would need a perfect diversion, chaos that even he couldn't control. She messaged Sarah back. I'll be there. I'm scared. 3 p.m. On Wednesday, at 2:30 p.m., she put her plan into action. Leo was in the living room, reading. Maya went to the kitchen and grabbed a heavy cast-iron skillet. She went to the guest bathroom, turned the shower on full hot to create steam, and then, with a deep breath, smashed the tempered glass of the shower door. It exploded. She let out a piercing, genuine scream. Leo, help me! I fell in the shower, I'm bleeding! She took a shard of glass and, gritting her teeth, drew a shallow but bloody line across her own forearm. She crumpled to the floor, moaning. Leo burst in, his professional calm gone, replaced by panic, his one job. He saw the steam, the shattered glass, and the bright red blood on her arm. Ms. Collins, Maya! I slipped, she wept. I think I hit my head. Please, don't move, he commanded. I'll get the first aid kit. He ran from the bathroom toward the kitchen. The second he was out of sight, Maya was up. She sprinted, grabbing the emergency fire extinguisher from the wall. Leo, returning with the kit, saw her. His eyes widened in betrayal. Maya, no! She discharged the extinguisher, filling the entire foyer with a blinding, choking cloud of white CO2. The building's fire alarm, triggered by the cloud, began to wail. This was the chaos she needed. She ran to the private elevator. The alarm had overridden the security, the doors open for firefighter access. She jabbed the lobby button. Behind her, she heard Leo coughing, gagging, shouting her name. Maya, don't, it's a trap. The doors slid shut. She was alone. She was descending. She didn't hear him, or if she did, she dismissed it as a lie. She hit the lobby, a girl with a bleeding arm, and ran past the confused guards, bursting through the front doors and disappearing into the street. Rain lashed down, a cold, miserable drizzle that soaked Maya to the skin in seconds. She didn't care. She was free. She kept to the side streets, her heart a wild drum against her ribs. Every man in a suit was one of Donato's. Every black car was Leo, coming for her. She reached the New York Public Library at 42nd and 5th, slipping in past the stone lions, just another piece of city detritus seeking shelter. The Astor reading room was vast and silent, a cathedral-like space. Under its high, frescoed ceiling, people read at long tables, bathed in the warm glow of green-shaded lamps. The air smelled of old paper and furniture polish. She scanned the room. There, in the back corner, Sarah. Her friend was sitting hunched over, looking pale and terrified. A wave of love and relief washed over Maya. She ran. Sarah, she whispered, her voice cracking. Sarah looked up. Her eyes were wide, red-rimmed from crying. Oh, Maya! My God! Your arm! Look at you! She stood up and threw her arms around Maya, clutching her in a desperate, trembling hug. Maya buried her face in her friend's familiar-smelling coat. You came? Sarah wept. I was so scared. You saved me, Maya breathed, tears of gratitude mixing with the rain in her hair. You saved me. Let's go. We have to go now. She started to pull Sarah toward the exit. Wait, Sarah said, her voice small. She didn't let go of Maya. In fact, her grip seemed to tighten. Sarah, what is it? We have to run. I just need to tell the people who helped me, Sarah whispered. What people? Maya said, a cold spike of adrenaline piercing her relief. A shadow fell over their table. The people who are so concerned about your well-being. Maya looked up. A large man in a flashy, pin-striped suit was standing there, smiling. He was flanked by two others. He was built like a bull, and his eyes were as dead and cold as polished stone. Bruno Falcone, he said, introducing himself with a mock bow. A pleasure to finally meet you. Maya's blood turned to ice. Falcone, the name from the headlines, Donato's rival. She looked at Sarah. Her friend was white as a sheet, tears streaming down her face. Sarah? Maya's voice was a dead whisper. What did you do? They said you were a prisoner, Sarah sobbed, her grip on Maya's arm now a vice. They said they were saving you. They promised they wouldn't hurt you. Don't be too hard on her, kid. Bruno Falcone clicked his tongue. She thought she was a hero. And now, his smile vanished. You're going to come with us, quietly, or we paint these pretty walls. One of his men pressed the muzzle of a gun, hidden by his coat, into Sarah's ribs. No, Maya said. She looked at her friend, at the gun, at the exit. Leo's words echoed in her ears. It's a trap. Please, Sarah begged. Don't let them. Shut up, Bruno hissed at her. Now, Miss Collins, walk. They started to move, Bruno's men forming a tight box around the two women. They were walking past the long tables toward the main exit. They reached the top of the grand marble staircase leading to the lobby. Outside, Bruno ordered. There's a car waiting. No. A voice. Calm. Cold. It came from the landing below them. Leo Gravano was standing at the bottom of the stairs. He was no longer disoriented. He was immaculate, his suit jacket buttoned. He looked disappointed. Bruno Falcone's men tensed. They grabbed Maya and Sarah, pulling them close, using them as shields. Gravano, Bruno sneered. Just one of you. Donato's slipping, letting his best man play bodyguard. Let her go, Bruno, Leo said. He didn't raise his voice. This is between us. The girl is a civilian. She was. Bruno laughed. Now she's leverage. And this other one, he yanked Sarah's hair, is just garbage. You want him? Come and get him, or you walk away. I take the girl. And maybe I let her friend live. Maya looked at Leo. His eyes were locked on hers. He gave a tiny, almost imperceptible shake of his head. Don't move. I'm afraid I can't do that, Bruno, Leo said. And then he drew his weapon. It wasn't a panicked shot. It was a fluid, practiced motion. The man holding Sarah grunted, a red circle appearing on his forehead. He was dead before he hit the marble. Chaos erupted. People screamed, alarms blared. Bruno roared, pulling Maya in front of him, firing his own gun wildly toward Leo. Leo didn't fire back. He was already moving, using the side of the massive staircase as cover. The second gunman grabbed Sarah, who was screaming hysterically, and tried to drag her down the stairs. Leo was there. He moved faster than Maya had ever seen a person move. He was a wraith. He disarmed the man, broke his wrist with a sickening crack, and struck him in the throat. The man collapsed, gurgling. Now it was just Bruno, holding Maya, his arm locked around her neck, a gun to her head. Stop! Bruno screamed, his voice echoing in the cavernous hall. Stop or I kill her! I swear to God, Leo, I'll do it! Leo stopped. He was 10 feet away. His gun was at his side, but not aimed. "He's bluffing," Leo said, his eyes on Maya's. "He needs you alive. But you need to do exactly what I say." "Go to hell!" Bruno spat. "Maya," Leo said, his voice dropping, "when you threw that coffee, what was your target?" His face," she stammered. "Good. This time aim for the elbow. Use yours." "What?" "His arm," Leo said. "Drive your elbow back, into his. Now." Maya didn't think. She reacted. She slammed her left elbow with all her weight into the joint of the arm that was holding her. Bruno howled. His grip loosened for half a second. His gun arm spasmed involuntarily. It was all Leo needed. The thwack of the silenced shot was almost lost in the alarms. Bruno Falcone's eyes went wide. He looked down. His legs buckled. He crumpled to the ground. Leo hadn't aimed for his chest. He'd aimed for his knee. Leo was on him in an instant, his boot on Bruno's wrist, kicking the gun away. He hauled the whimpering, bleeding boss to his feet. "The war," Leo said into Bruno's ear, "is over." He turned to Maya, who was shaking, pressed against a pillar. Then he looked at Sarah, who was sobbing on the floor. Leo's face was hard. "I told you it was a trap," he said, his voice flat. How did you know?" she whispered. Leo tapped his ear, a tiny flesh-colored earpiece. "I wasn't just watching you, Ms. Collins. I was listening. I heard the pallet notification. I heard your escape plan. I let you run, so I could catch him." Maya stared at him, horrified. Her escape, her plan, it was all part of his. You used me. You let me get... I kept you alive," Leo snapped, "and I ended a war. My job is done." Black sedans were already pulling up outside. Men in dark suits were flooding the library lobby, moving with terrifying, silent efficiency. They put a black bag over Bruno Falcone's head and dragged him out. Leo grabbed Maya's arm. "We're leaving. Wait," Maya said, going to Sarah, who was incoherent with fear. "Sarah, don't," Sarah shrieked, flinching away from her. You're one of them." "No, Sarah, Get her," Leo said to one of his men, pointing at Sarah. "What? No, don't hurt her," Maya yelled. "She's a liability," Leo said. "She knows too much. She talked to Falcone. She betrayed you." "She's my friend. She was scared." Leo paused. He looked at Maya's face, streaked with tears and dust. He looked at the screaming, pathetic form of Sarah Jenkins. "She comes with us," Leo said finally. "The Don will decide what to do with her." The penthouse was silent, the chaos of Maya's escape completely erased. Donato Genovese was waiting, standing in front of the glass wall, a silhouette against the city lights. Leo marched Maya in, followed by two men who dropped a sobbing Sarah Jenkins on the marble floor. "Leave us," Donato said, without turning. Leo and his men vanished. "You ran," Donato finally said. It wasn't an accusation. It was a fact. "Yes," Maya replied, her voice steady. The fear was gone, replaced by a cold, hard anger. His gaze shifted to the whimpering woman on the floor. "You betrayed her." I didn't know," Sarah wailed. "He said he was helping. I was trying to save my friend." "You spoke my name to my enemy." Donato's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "In my world, there is only one punishment for that." Sarah's face went white. "No, please, Maya, tell him. I didn't mean it." Maya looked at her friend, then at Donato. He was watching her, waiting. She realized with chilling clarity, this was a test. "You're right," Maya said, her voice clear. "She betrayed me. She's a danger." Sarah let out a strangled sob. Donato raised an eyebrow. "But," Maya continued, "you told me about rules. You told me about debts." She walked forward until she was standing next to him, his equal. "You owe me. A blood debt. You said I could have anything. I did, he acknowledged, his eyes searching hers. I'm cashing in that debt. Right now, Maya said. I want her. Donato was still. What do you want? I want you to let her go. She's weak, not a threat. She's just a civilian, like I was. She pointed to Sarah. You will give her enough money to disappear. A new name, a new life. Somewhere far away. She will never come back, and you will never, ever touch her. Her life is my payment. Donato stared at her. He saw the iron in her spine, the cold calculation. She had used his own rules against him. A slow, genuine smile spread across his face. He nodded. Leo! Leo appeared instantly. Take Miss Jenkins, Donato ordered. New identity. A one-way ticket far from here. A wire transfer. She is under my protection. But if she ever returns, that protection ends. Sarah, stunned into silence, was hauled to her feet and dragged out. The door clicked shut. Maya and Donato were alone. The silence was different. The debt, Donato said, is paid. Yes, Maya said. So what now? Am I free? Can I have my old life back? I can't give you that, Donato said, turning back to the window. You know that. Falcone is my prisoner, but he has sons. They will never stop looking for the girl who brought him down. To them, you're not a waitress. You're a legend. So I am your prisoner, she said, the coldness returning. No, Donato said. You are not. The debt is paid. You owe me nothing. I owe you nothing. He walked to a drawer and pulled out a passport, keys, and a credit card. This is a new identity. A ticket to Rome. A bank account with $5 million. You can walk out that door. Leo will not stop you. You can go and never see me again. He slid the items across the marble. Maya looked at them. Freedom. Everything she'd wanted. That's one choice, she said, looking up. What's the other? Donato studied her. The other choice is you stay. As your prisoner? As my associate, he said. As my partner, my consigliere. You're not a victim, Maya. You're a survivor. You're smart. You see things I don't. You ended a war I've been fighting for 10 years. This world, it's empty. You are the only person who has ever surprised me. Maya looked at the passport. Her old life. Anonymity. Then she looked at Donato Genovese. She pushed the passport back across the counter. They're going to come for you, she said, her voice soft. Falcone's sons. Yes, Donato said. They're going to come for us, she corrected. She walked to the window and stood beside him, her reflection staring back from the dark glass. She was no longer a waitress. They'll be angry. They'll be emotional. They'll make mistakes, she said. You're going to need my help. Donato looked at her. He had paid his debt, and in doing so, had found something else, entirely. He had found an heir, a single act of courage, a single bullet. That's all it took to tear Maya Collins' world apart and rebuild it into something unrecognizable. She stepped in front of a stranger to save his life, only to find he was the one man who could end hers, or begin it. She was plunged into a world of violence, luxury, and impossible choices. But in the end, was she a prisoner? Or did the cage just give her wings? The line between a victim and a survivor is drawn in blood, but it's signed in ink. Maya started as a waitress, but she finished as a queen. What do you think happened next? Did Maya truly find power, or did she just trade one prison for another? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you loved this story, please hit that like button, share it with a friend who loves a good drama, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more twisted stories just like this one. We have